That is what makes a great melody. That's what makes good icing, the good cherry on top. It is about serving the music. So what you want to be is the human version of that.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 503. My name is Brando. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Bumblefoot. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy to have you on. By the way, before we go any further, because I would call you Bumble in the Instagram, in our Instagram DMs, and now I guess it Bumblefoot, and obviously, do I call you Ron?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like,
just call me
well,
Ron.
just
Yeah.
Ron? Ron? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Bumblefoot, that was the name of my band, and it became like a nickname. But yeah,
Uh,
Ron.
Okay, I like that. Ron. I have a good association with Ron. Ron Burgundy, Ron Sw Ron Swanson, if you're familiar. Well, I'm excited to talk to you today. It's been a long time coming, and my listeners are excited as well. You know, it's funny, and we'll get to his. It's a nice little segue. I I know I've said this before in the podcast, and I didn't realize how much I've said it until Richard Fortas brought it to my attention, because who's a listener of the podcast. You were my very first interview ever in 2007, and just
18 years ago.
so special. And I want to see if we could do this really quick, and if it doesn't work, whatever. But I want to see because it's only 45 seconds of what was a 45-minute interview. We'll see if we can share screens so I could play it. So I'm going to share this with you. And you see that? Do you see that?
Brando, my God.
So
So much
there,
less facial hair on both of us.
I know. So if you're watching the screen, because I overlaid this short audio over a
18 years
picture.
ago, that could have been our kids right
I know,
now.
right? This picture, though, is from 2006 from Ottawa. This is your first tour with Guns N' Roses. And this is like a great segue into talking about your album because it's just a long time coming in your history of just where you've been, where we're going. But I was dating a Canadian. I know it's always like, oh, I have a girlfriend in Canada. That's a fake story. I did.
You actually had one.
I know. George Glass. No, I'm just kidding. You,
I know
you
that reference pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, good. Hopefully some other people too. So I was big on obviously well before the podcast, huge GNR nerd. I knew who you were, following all the personnel changes and everything. I go up to Canada to see her because that's how we bonded over GNR. And you were wearing, I don't know if you could really tell in this photo if you're watching on Zoom, but your Russian winter outfit, like the winter coat and the Russian hat, like the one that George Costanza wore in Seinfeld. I
Yep.
mean, is that a good way to describe it? Okay. You come out, and this is before the show, after the Suicide Girls, I believe, because they were opening. You go to a security guard, and he asks, "So did anybody recognize you tonight?" And you smile, and I go over to you, and I'm like, "Bumblefoot." You smile. We talk for a little bit. You sign my ticket, and that's where the seed was planted to follow up with you for like months on MySpace to get this interview. I'm sure none of this rings a bell, but this is like in my heart. This is, I'm in this industry for over 20 years, and this is just something that's will always stick with me. So I'll play this 45-second thing. It was 45 minutes. This was the days before knowing how to save all that stuff. This was something I had in my radio demo for a long time. So you should hear the sound, and you might be able to tell some of the topic of conversation. Then you don't have to comment further on that topic, but here we go.
Some of you know him as Ron Thal. The better of us know him as Bumblefoot, one of the guitarists from Guns N' Roses. How you doing today?
Very good, man. How are you doing?
I have to ask the question.
About the album?
Yes, about the Chinese Democracy. I know. I wouldn't be doing my job.
I know all the DMFs are sick of hearing the word soon.
Yeah.
But you guys haven't heard that the album is done recorded.
All right, excellent. There you have it. It is going to come out. Once again, soon is the word. From what I've heard from the leaks and from what I've heard live, it's going to be well worth the wait. And Bumblefoot, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
And you're welcome back anytime. And if you want to throw in some free backstage passes to me, I won't turn them away.
Very cool.
Basically, I was talking to you about Chinese Democracy that hadn't come out yet. And you're just like, damn, joking around, talking to me about that album. It wouldn't come to me, couldn't come out for like another year. So anyway, that's how long it's been since I've spoken to you. That long setup was just to say, hey, how are you? It's been a while. You don't know what to say. Nothing?
Such a long time ago. My God.
I know it is. So maybe we should flash forward. I don't know if I'm because we could even go into another time in radio when I was you were visiting at WPD. That aired on Pixie 103 Cape Cod, right? That was my first radio job. I'm in our neck of the woods by now, right? By the way, I'm in the Queens.
All right. What part of Queens?
I'm in Forest Hills.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. But this was a time where everyone's like, shut up, let Bumble talk. We'll get to that. I was going to Poughkeepsie. I was doing radio in Poughkeepsie. And I heard you were on the air. I was going to fill in for the midday shift. And I got excited because I wanted to tell you about my interview with you a few years ago. So, and I ended up getting a speeding ticket.
Oh, shit.
I think I ended up like just catching you, but I ended up getting a speeding ticket.
Well, that sucks.
So, no speeding ticket, none of that today. So I'm here at home.
You did just remind me of when you said, did anyone recognize you on the first tour? Because nobody knew who I was. Hell, they still don't know who I am. What I would do, just to have fun with that, is before the show, I would go out to everyone waiting online to get their tickets and just do funny things. Like one time I came out with a bunch of cookies and baked goods, and I just walked out to the line and said, free baked goods courtesy of Guns N' Roses. And some people would take, and they had no idea who I was, and many were smart not to trust a stranger who approaches them with cookies. And then, a few hours later, I'd be on stage. Yeah, brilliant. So just little things like that, just just to have fun with the situation.
Brilliant. No, I love that, and I didn't get any cookies from you. Now I wish I did.
Oh, I owe you a cookie.
Yes, thank you. But no, I just want to let you know that it meant so much to me all these years later for you to take some time aside, and then all these years. So why did it take so long to get another solo album out? I guess that's also a long-winded question.
Well, my whole life has been putting out solo music, and it slowed down as the touring took over much of the time. Like I would put out in late 90s, early 2000s, there would be an album a year I would get out. And then it became every few years, and then it became 10 years. So I put out Little Brother Is Watching in 2015. And since then, see, my thing is that I always put others before myself. So it's just my nature and I can't fight it. So if I want to put out my own album, but I'm working with bands, I'll put my own thing aside to help the bands do their things. So 2015, got out the first Art of Anarchy album with Scott Weiland, and then started working with Scott Stapp on the second one, and got that out and started with Sons of Apollo and got that out, and then touring with them, and I was doing a lot more producing There's one band called the Dodies, Dodies, phenomenal garage rock duo, such a fun, interesting musical band. And I've recorded 3 of their albums. So just being very busy with all of these bands. And for a lot of these bands, I was handling production, all the studio stuff, dealing with the record label for a lot of it. And so that took up a lot of time. So this album, it's one of those things where you're just on the runaway hamster wheel and you're going and going and going and you're touring all over the place and busting out albums with these other bands, and they're touring and doing solo touring and just living out of a suitcase for years. And then pandemic hits and we are all given this gift of unexpected time. And all the things that people would say to me, hey, you ever going to do one of these again? Yeah, you ever going to do this again? Suddenly there's time to do it all. So the first thing I did is I finished up a song called Planetary Lockdown. Easy title to come up with. And finished that and put that out just as a digi single of guitar music. And then I did 2 acoustic EPs that I just stuck on my Bandcamp. And started writing with Derek, my Sons of Apollo keyboardist. We started writing what I thought could possibly be the 3rd Sons of Apollo album, but didn't work out that way. And we formed another band called Whom Gods Destroy, with Dino Jalusic on vocals and Bruno Valverde from the band Angra on drums, and Yasna Mora, who's just an incredible multi-instrumentalist, super talented guy. And we put that out, and the guys in Art of Anarchy, they're like, hey, we got time. Let's make some more music. I was like, yeah, come on over. So every Friday they would come over during the pandemic and we would just make a song, record it, have it done. Ended up with 2 albums worth of stuff. And then Jeff Soto said, you know, you should have had me sing on the Art of Anarchy stuff. It would have saved you a lot of headaches. I was like, all right, go ahead. And so we made another Art of Anarchy album now with Jeff Scott Soto on vocals. So, producing bands, building a new band, Whom Gods Destroy, another Art of Anarchy album, and doing that, I was thinking, you know, I haven't done a fully instrumental album in such a long time, and I already got a head start. I put out that Planetary Lockdown song, and there was another song the year before that I put out called Cintaku, which is Indonesian. It's a term of endearment, means my love. Cintaku. Put that out, and it's like, you know, I already got those 2 songs going, and let me start writing some stuff. So started writing and recording, and my drummer, the incredible Kyle Hughes, who I met in 2015 when I was touring in the UK, and he had this band. He reached out and said, hey, we're opening for you. How about we learn all your stuff and be your backing band for that show as well? I was like, sure, why not? And they were just teenage kids and phenomenal. And the drummer, this kid Kyle, he stood out. He was just like 16 years old, but he was like a great showman. He nailed everything, sang backing vocals, just a sweetheart of a kid. His parents were wonderful. I was like, you know what? This is the kind of person I want in my life. And he became my drummer from that point on. So he did all the crazy drumming on my album. And some of it, he would come out here for a few days and just write in this room, have a kit set up, and he would just record and record and record. And sometimes when he was in LA, where he lives now, he would just go to a local studio and bang something out. And there was one other, the only song he didn't play on is a song on the new album called Once in Forever. And that one has my friend Jerry Gaskill from the band King's X. And he's an old friend of mine, and every time we're out in Red Bank having dinner, we would always say, you know, we should do something together. Let's do something. So I had this one song that I thought he would be fitting for, and so he came in and just laid his, you know, with that bonhomie pocket that he has, and just, yeah, both drummers are incredible and made the album so good, because it starts with the drums. The drums are the foundation. The drummer is the boss. If the drums suck, the music sucks. You know, you could play shitty guitar over great drum grooves and it'll be okay. If you play kick-ass guitar over shitty drums, it sucks. The drums, that's the most important thing. If your drummer sucks, your band sucks. So and I stand by that fully. So back to my long-winded thing over here.
Long-winded? I wouldn't know anything about that.
So working on the album, making the songs, and it was done and mixed and finished by the summer of 2023. The album could have come out that summer, my solo album. But right at that same point, that is when Art of Anarchy and Whom Gods Destroy, both at the same time, everything was coming together. We were making the videos, we were shooting the photos, finishing the mixing and everything of that, working out the deals with the record labels, and I was doing the Doty's third album, Dreamism, which is out digitally now, and toward the end of May it'll be out in retail, CDs and all. So it was a lot at once, and it was really pushing the limits. So I had to just put my thing aside. I had a lot of plans for what I wanted to do for my album when I released it. I didn't just want to throw it on Shitify and leave it at that. No. So I put mine aside so that I could take care of Art of Anarchy, get that launched and out. Whom Gods Destroy, same thing. Doty's, get that all done and good to go. And then once that smoke cleared end of 2024, I got back to work on my album, and I was making this animated music video for the song Simon in Space. Simon is my cat. My best friend in the whole world. Yeah, he's my sidekick. And every time I walk out the door, my heart gets ripped to shreds. It's like, no, I'm leaving God. What if he thinks I'm not coming back? I miss him so much. Just to go get the mail. I am so bonded to this soul. Yeah. And
I'm a cat guy myself. Unfortunately, we lost both of our senior guys. So we're in a period right now with just a 2-year-old boy, a pet, my son. But yeah, is he around you? Because I actually have been developing a theme of Todd Kearns showed me his cat, Eric Dover, Tracy Guns. They're all their cats. I don't know. Is Simon around you? If he's
he's back home. I'm just here at the studio, and yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry that you're.
Yeah, but every night, and he has like this perfect internal clock. Like at 9:50, he just sits and just stares at us with that look like, well, you coming? Coming to bed? It's bedtime. It's almost 10. And then I get in bed and he just makes sure I'm in the right position. If I'm lying on my side, he'll tap me on my leg. And I have to lie on my back, open my legs in like a little circle, just the right amount, and he curls up in a ball and sleeps there for hours. And then in the morning, it's like 7:30 in the morning, and I take a shower, and he's waiting for me. And as soon as I get out, we have that ritual of I have to take my towel and fold it up and make like a little thing and put it on the bed, and he runs up onto it. And then I have to brush with like a million bristles and just start doing his face brushing and and just go through the whole routine. And he just stretches out and his belly and and everything, and then he's just sitting there just happy as can be, and then
you're making me really miss my guys, by the way. Like, I really miss them.
It's torture. It is absolute torture when
they're forever, over my left shoulder. I got the two brothers, Pig and Blackie Clawless. And then GB. But no, that's so. I love that. Do you play music for him? Is he responsive?
I've tried. He just doesn't give a shit. I've tried to teach him to play guitar, like showed him the strings, you could pluck them and everything. Doesn't care. Played little songs for him. Just does not care. Yeah, he's not into music.
Okay,
That's not his thing. I think just running around and chasing little furry balls and bringing them back and just playing little hide and seek games and stuff like that. That's more his thing.
It doesn't care that he has the lead track off Bumblefoot Returns. Doesn't care.
He has no idea. That's actually him in the album art. Hang on, let me get it. Hold on.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, I love that, man. I know it's people are sick of me talking about my cats, but see, everyone loves them. They're just
So
special animals.
yeah, when I was making the album, when I was making that first song, it was a riff that sort of in the headspace of Whom Gods Destroy, which had a lot of like heavy, low chromatic type of things. And that just bled into whatever I was making for the album. And got Simon in 2022, or he got us. And so that was just whatever was happening in life just becomes part of the music you're making. So when I made that song, and it just felt like, whenever I'm making instrumental music, I'm always picturing things like I'm scoring in this imaginary movie that no one else sees, or just something that happened, like a story you want to tell. It's like I'm making soundtracks to these things, and hopefully people get they see the same pictures. So you don't really, a lot of times, know what it's going to be, how it's going to come out. Sometimes you're just throwing paint at the canvas, and then halfway through it's like, all right, I see what it's becoming. And that's what happened with that first song, Simon in Space. I didn't have a name for it. I think, what did I call it? There's always just like some weird working title. I forget what it was. It was probably something like 7. Because the intro is this weird rhythm of it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you follow the hands of the drums, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2. And the snare is on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But the feet are dividing every beat into 4 little segments, which we would call 16th notes. So it's like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 5. And what it's doing is it's playing a shuffle, where normally a shuffle is a group of 6, where if you slow it down, it's like it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, ba, boom, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, 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 ba, boom. But this is doing it in 7. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 7 shuffle, not a common thing. So it's going. And it's doing that while the hands are staying on solid quarters, just the foot stomping. So it forms this weird kind of almost like a polyrhythm. And the music is following, like the low stuff is following what the low drums are doing, what the feet are doing. So it's going boom, boom, ba 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 boom, boom, doing this weird shuffle that all comes together and finishes once you've done 2 rounds of 7 with the hands. And it's just a very strange, chaotic thing. And then on top, I have almost like a theremin sounding guitar part. I should really, hang on one second, let's turn this on. I don't know if you're gonna get good sound through Zoom, but
Okay.
let's see. Ha 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 ha.
Well, we already tried my audio mishap, so we can try another.
Let's try. So I was making a lot of weird sounds using the Line 6 Helix pedal, which emulates every piece of guitar gear you can imagine. It's like every amplifier, every speaker cabinet, every setting on all those amps down to the bias of the tubes and the amount of hum the amp gets. If it's like an old amp, like all of that stuff, you could control the kind of microphone that's in front of it, the distance, the angle, everything. And it's just incredible. It completely it's a complete simulation of the guitar gear world all in one box. And with it, you can create routing that you can't do in the real world. You can have an expression pedal, just a pedal, like a wah pedal or a volume pedal, but you can have it where it changes the EQ goes from one amp to another, makes reverb disappear, slows down a delay, like things that would take, this room would need to be full of gear, and you'd need 10 people turning knobs simultaneously with each other to make that happen. Like, it's incredible what you can do. So with that, you can get very creative sound-wise. Let's tune this to, this tunes down to a low B, and let's turn this up. So for Whom Gods Destroy, I have this particular sound in mind where a lot of the bottom foundation would be very offset and go into strange places, and guitars would be following it, doing this kind of guitar sound where it's tuned down plus a low, dirty octave on it. So that's the sound I use for a lot of the foundation guitar-wise in Whom Gods Destroy. And then the higher stuff, the vocals, what the hands are doing on the drums, was the more solid, steady stuff. So there would be a song that went, let's say here's the beat. The hands are going, bop, boom, boom, just straight AC/DC. But the feet are going like boom, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, like all this offbeat stuff, and the guitars are following that. But the vocals are just going ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, ba, boom, da, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, and it's this weird, almost like an upside down cake, where instead of the icing being the off stuff on top of a solid foundation, it's flipped, and the foundation is like, has all these off-center things, and the top is keeping it steady. So that was this thing that I was doing for Whom Gods Destroy, and that bled into the song Simon in Space. So on the bottom you have crazy stuff, and then on top of it I have almost like a theremin type sound of let's see if I could find, there it is. So it would be doing this thing where I'm hitting harmonics, and what I hit a note, go to half the distance of the vibrating length of string, and if you touch it there, it gives you double the frequency, which we call an octave. And then I have a reverb that opens up on a delayed reaction to an even higher octave that I have offset left and right so that they're slightly out of pitch with each other, and they tense up. And it sounds almost like it has that theremin-y sort of sound from like the Star Trek theme or something like that, like old school retro space stuff. So as the song was coming together and each part was going into each other part, there was the main melody where I'm playing everything with just one hand and just touching harmonics over them, and I have the sound being chopped up by an effect that just makes it sort of just boop, 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 boop. And in the background, a reverse delay that repeats everything backwards a second later, off in the distance. So just really just fucking with sound. So that was like this whole... Then it went into another sound that was where I took two delays, where one repeats, a quick repeat on a 16th note, so you hit a note, it goes bop, and it goes bop bop, just once, like that. And then after it, I take both of those and have them go what we call a dotted eighth note. It's like 3/4 of a beat, and it repeats a few times. So you have ba 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 ba, and then following that is a filter that reacts to the intensity of the note that makes it sort of womp, like that. So with that, you end up with. And then as that's fading off, you jump to just a nice melody. To all these weird places, and the first section just sounded like chaos, like you just woke up in the middle of a tornado. Or what I really pictured was you just wake up in a spaceship and there's like a million asteroids that you're like, what the fuck? Like, just, you're in chaos, absolute chaos. And then it clears up, and then that part with the pretty melodies, like you're seeing just gorgeous colors, just incredible things. Nebula, everything, and then you get the sense that it's all about to get fucked up again. And so, let's see. I have my little backing track thing set up. So there's a lot going on in the song, and it's like it takes you on a journey. It does. It takes you on a trip. And afterwards, after the song was done, I was like, fuck, it feels like just like a weird space adventure, to be the little kid in me. And then I thought about my cat Simon, who would always sit by the window in this circular bed and just stare out the window, and it looked like he was just like in a spaceship. And so I had made an Instagram account called Simon in Space, which is all just pictures of him in space. And I just put the two together, and I was like, shit, this should be about Simon in space. And then I started picturing an animated music video. So I started making all of these like elements. What would he encounter in space that he would take issue with? So like alien mice and fish and robot birds and asteroids made of cheese and all stuff like that. So then that led to making this music video, and a good friend of mine out in Poland who has a video game company, he reached out and said, do you want some help with the music video? I could definitely make it better, and certainly could, because I am no expert at any of the things I do. So he took it he just made it phenomenal, made it wonderful. And then from all of that, that's what led to the album art, the album cover and everything. And there's little Simon, that's really his face in there, that's him.
I love it.
And
cute guy.
All of that. So then I was like, all right, I want to make really nice physical stuff. Even if no one buys it, I just want it to be, thankfully people did. But
yeah,
what we love about this stuff is the artwork, everything that comes with it. So the vinyl, I went all out. So you have that, and the other thing I should mention is I had the idea in the updated, I gotta go back now 30 years.
Okay.
My very first album, The Adventures of Bumblefoot, on Shrapnel Records, the guitar label. The artwork for it had this half bee, half foot creature thing. Yeah. And all this chaos around and everything. So I was thinking, all right, all these years later, what would be sort of an updated version or just using the same concept? So instead of having the B foot thing, I was like, all right, that double neck guitar as a spaceship. And I tried to make the art, and it was just coming out like shit. So found an artist to do it, did a great version of it, and then got someone who's good at like Blender software, 3D rendering, and made a 3D model of it. So this way it could be used in the videos, it could be used in anything visual, it could be used for album art, where instead of having to redraw it every time, you could just make a dozen angles of it with different lighting and different perspectives, and you just move the 3D model and say, okay, render a 2D image, and there it is. So that's for the cover, is like that. You know, that back cover, you see him leaving. And then inside, more stuff, and different angles, and lots more artwork. And then the amount of music on there, if I squeezed it onto one disc, there was the possibility that the sound quality would degrade because it would be more than the 22 minutes. After that point on vinyl, you could start losing sound quality.
Oh, okay.
And if I stretched it onto 4 sides, the sides might be too short, where people are just flipping too often. So what I came up with is, well, first, here's more artwork. Here's me looking all serious and whatever. And another one of those with more artwork, different stuff. There's Simon Penn.
Just beautiful. So you have, it's just a 3D printer version of that? You don't have a practical version yet of that guitar that you can play? No one has made it?
I don't have the actual guitar of it.
Yeah. That's
just this design here, which is a just 3D virtual model using 3D rendering software.
Millennium Falcon.
Here's what I did is took the 3 sides of music, and then the 4th side is a UV pressing that has the just art on it. So there's no audio. There's 3 sides of music, and then the 4th side.
Oh, I see.
Has the spinning chips and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Like to hang up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that was the plan.
You said to me. You said to me before when we were scheduling this that you've never been a part of something so involved, too, with this release. I mean, I got to imagine this is just part of it. How involved is the artwork alone?
Yeah, it took a year to finish that music video, and then making the 2D and then 3D model and all the album art, and then for the CD. You have, CD opens up, art, you got the disc, art, and you got the booklet, which opens up, instead of it being a stapled booklet, it just opens up into like a bigger thing.
Yeah, just the old school, what you appreciate about CDs and just the artwork and opening up. And my college dorm was full of things like that, the things you would fold out and just put them on the wall.
Exactly, that's what we love, that kind of stuff. So, just for the fuck of it, I also did it on cassette.
Yes.
For the few people that want it on cassette, and you'd be surprised there are people that still want cassette. So, and again, it unfolds into a whole bunch of art, and you got the info there and more art. It's all about art, and nothing compares to not seeing it through a screen and just holding it in front of your face. And it's
no 8-track?
Such a surreal thing when I first got this. You get so used to just looking at everything on the screen, and then when it's just right in front of your eyes, it's like, holy fuck. It's a different thing.
Can you describe that feeling when you first had it in your hand? What was first? Did you first have now I have to ask, the vinyl, the CD, or the cassette? Like, what did you first have in your hand?
The vinyl. And I was like, oh my God, it's so clear and so just alive. it feels more like art. Like it feels like there's so much more detail. There's so just, yeah.
It
feels
really
like
is. A
it's
lot of people, a
pulled,
lot of,
like these. It's like you took sunglasses off for the first time, and you're seeing everything in full color. Yeah.
congratulations. It's a lost art of this kind of art. There's just been a lot of lazy album covers now and making albums and just the thought
Well,
process that went into this, the
well,
time, the people. I mean, this is a
well,
lost art when you put together.
there's a lot of stuff that goes along with making physical product that a lot of bands just can't do. Number one, there's not as many people buying it because it's not the only choice. You could easily listen, and even then, like a lot of this, I consider merch items that embody playable music. That's what a lot of it is. I don't know how many people are going to actually pop this on a cassette player these days. Although I have a friend that does have an old car with a cassette player in it, and he popped it
Nice.
on. And but yeah, that's the thing. Like that's where things are. So a lot of bands, that's not a wise investment for them to say, all right, I'm going to spend $15,000 to make 1,000 vinyl.
Yeah.
They don't have that. Yeah. So what do? They put it out on Spotify and everything else, and they put that money instead into trying to create awareness to let people know they exist, that the music exists, that it's out there. That's the main battle now, is just letting people know that your music exists. So that is where a lot of bands, a lot of artists, a lot of whatever, they need to put their focus on. So it's like, bombard people and let them know it's out there. Hopefully amongst the thousands of things they're seeing every day, they'll catch that. And then you just easily go to Spotify and you can hear it there. Is it the best sound quality? No. Does it matter that much to most people? No. It's close enough. It's good enough. They don't know what they're missing. They're not hearing it in incredible fidelity. They're just hearing it like this, and it's a good enough representation of music. So that's fine for people that are real audiophiles, and they're gonna go a different way. Yeah. But the whole thing is you want to have something for everybody, though. You don't want to leave out these people, and you don't want to leave out the people that want digital. So it's on Bandcamp. You can download it off my site. It's on all the streaming sites, and it's here physical. There's the music video, and we made a Simon in Space retro video game. There is a free video game. Go to my website, go to bumblefoot.com, scroll down, and you'll see just a little blog post about it. Or go to SIS, Simon in Space, SIS.gloomyware. That's the company. That's my friend Radek Rubinski, the genius that made this thing. GLOOMYWARE.com. And it's a very simple game where it's just the spaceship, and it's like the old Space Invaders type games, and you just press down, push down, whatever it is, and move it around, and it's just rapid firing, and all the alien mice and this and that, and they start shooting back at you, and the music is playing in the background, and it's just another way people can experience the music. And what I want to do is just have the record release, have all these things, just have it be fun. If you want to stream it, you can. If you want to download it, you can. If you want to have something physical, you can. If you want to play a game while you're listening, you can. If you want to watch a video, you can. That was what it's all about. So then there's making the new website, which was 15 years overdue, and having a nice store with all kinds of things. You can get a Simon pet bowl. You can get, the usual stuff.
Okay, I was gonna ask if there's more Simon merch. That's what I'm really here for. Okay, good.
Yes. You can get the Simon the astronaut shirt and all of that. And but wait, there's more. Yes. So what am I even forgetting? There's so much stuff. So all these guitar sounds, these weird guitar sounds that I have,
Hmm.
I made them all available at line6.com, where you can get these guitar sounds. So if you
Oh
like them,
wow.
or if you want to make your own variation of them, or use them as just a starting point and come up with something weird. So all the guitar sounds for every song, every sound on the whole album is available there for people.
That's
And
cool.
next month, we are going to put out the transcription book of the entire album, where it is not just the tablature, but the music notation and every finger used, the picking direction, if it's a pull off, if it's a tap, like every single thing for every single guitar track, like a little background thing is in there. Like everything for the entire album, every song. And when that comes out, I'll make backing tracks so once people learn the stuff, they could play along. Yeah.
You know what I love that you've been able, because you're so well spoken about this and so learned. Because I want to ask you about being a teacher, but you've answered so many of my questions just through the conversation. Going back from the beginning of just okay, what's Ron's path, and talking about why it took a minute to put this album out, and you're helping other people. That's something you've always been. Okay, that's why you're in the back burner. So I mean, that was a question I had, and you answered that organically, and just to be able to just listening to the way you were teaching, because I have no musical ability. That's why I'm in radio. But you teaching me guitar, or just teaching whoever's listening, and I kept thinking of my interview with DMC with
Daryl.
McDaniel, with Daryl McDaniel from Run DMC, and just he said the word he used, that you were a genius. I was telling my brother the other day that the word is overused, but the way with you, I don't think it is. Is there like, who taught you? Who taught you to be? I know you. I'm sure your math. I don't know what your math is, but your musical genius. I mean, you could say that. But I don't know what your social studies skills are. That kind of
I am
genius.
an ape.
But
I
who
get progressively dumber as the
now,
years go by.
did you have like specific teachers that helped you really grasp this and be able to convert and converse it through? Because not everybody who's has the talent that you have can teach, can explain it. Is that something? Because my son's going to be 2 in like a week or so. He's too young to learn a guitar. He does
No,
some
it's
music.
not.
All right, so that's the question. I want to know what's a great age to start, because we want him to learn instruments. I mean, we're not going to force him to do anything, but just who were your teachers, and what's the right age for me to try to make him the next rock star?
When you have little kid toy drum sets and guitars lying around
We
and
do.
he starts playing around with them, usually they start with drums because it's a good way
We
to
have a
get
drum set.
that kid aggression out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and every guitarist should be a drummer. They need to have rhythm. They need to have pocket. Guitarists always rush ahead of the beat and we just have this frantic energy. And to be able to just keep it on a good leash and let the drummer lead. I always think of it like the drummer, like picture your hand splashing in water. It's like smack. That is the drums, and then the ripple should be you. That's what you want to be. Is he
Okay.
here?
He is. I'm trying to get him to say hello. You want to say hi? You want to say hi to
Hello. Where is
Bumblefoot?
he?
Come here, buddy. Let's say hi. Don't freak out. Come here. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to.
Oh,
He's
that's
wearing his. Well, you know what? I can turn the camera. Try not to lose your. There he is. There he is. Can you say
hi.
Bumblefoot? Say Bumblefoot.
Hello.
No. I tried. He's he's just a funny guy right now. He's just a funny guy because he'll be 2 on the 26th,
Nice.
and he's very attached to daddy. Thankfully, I have one of my brothers here to help me out this whole time. But yeah, I've had him doing interviews with me since like maybe a few weeks old with Tommy Stinson. He's like lying on me and stuff. So he'll be my co-host at some point. So maybe next
Mhm.
time he'll have some questions for you. But
I'm sure, yes.
to bring it
So,
back
okay.
around, your teachers, who taught you?
Ah,
I can't teach
well,
him.
it started when I grew up in the boroughs of New York. So started off in Brooklyn and then
Yeah.
pretty young we moved to Staten Island, moved to this neighborhood when I was 5 years old, where there were all these kids my age, and they all had older brothers and sisters that were at the album buying age, plus their parents. So I would go over my neighbor's house. Back then you just walk over, you knock on the door. It's like, want to play? And you open the door.
The good old days.
Just playing with toys, and there would always be just vinyl albums just lying all over the floor everywhere throughout the house. So at 5 years old, I started getting exposed to a lot of music, just picking it up like, oh, this is weird. It's like some Elton John album with some weird, creaturey, funny, weird, cartoony stuff, or everything like that. So we would just go to the turntable and pop on an album and just sit and stare at the speakers and just listen. And it was September 75, and I was about to turn 6 years old. And I remember I picked one up, and I was like, what is this? It's like these guys with these painted faces and just looking, it's like, this is weird. So we put it on, and it was Kiss Alive. And as soon as I heard it, it was the strangest feeling for a 5-year-old. It was like being shown all of time at once and saying, this is your path. This is what you're supposed to do. And I was like, all right, this is what I need to do. This is it. So I started a band at 6 years old. My brother was on drums. I wanted to be the drummer, but he was 2.5 years older. He had much better motor skills.
Motor skills.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, I mean, this bottle has more motor skills than me. But
so I'm laughing just because obviously with him, it's obviously a topic of every day with him with his motor skills. He can be great turning a corner, and then the next thing you know, he just collapses on the ground. It's like, what's going on with you? So
Yeah.
and then that's what was your band name with your brother?
Oh, we went through so many. Let's see. So there was my neighbor, John. So he played guitar. My brother played drums. And I just wanted to be in a band. All I knew, like from the Beatles and Kiss, those were my loves at that time. Those are the ones that hit me. And all I knew is that you knew these guys on a first name basis. John, Paul, George, Ringo, Gene, Paul, Peter, Ace. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be part of a team that together we make something that makes people feel as good as these bands are making me feel. And growing up in the 70s, where every week there's some incredible new album coming out. Fleetwood Mac, The Who, Pink Floyd, Yes, Queen, AC/DC, everything. Like, it was just phenomenal music constantly. So you couldn't avoid inspiration, musical inspiration, even if you tried. So our first band was called Viper 5. And I took a big white sheet. Actually, it was, I thought it was big, but it's probably like this big. It was like a window shade. Must have been for a double window, I guess. But it was a big white window shade, and I took it and I drew a snake in the shape of a 5. And that was our logo, Viper 5. And there was 5 of us. And because watching Partridge
Jackson
Family,
5? Okay.
well, no. Partridge Family.
Okay.
One of the band members was our manager. So he was like the Reuben Kincaid. So there was the drummer. Then Tommy, he played the paper cups, which is just paper cups that he turned upside down, and that was percussion. So drums, percussion, 2 guitar players, and the manager. And then, like, as little kids, got in an argument with the manager, which was very foretelling about the music industry. So then we became a 3-piece. Our bongo player, Tommy with the paper cups, retired from music and went on to other things. So it was just the 3 of us. So we called the band Target. And this is where things got serious. We had our logo, which looked like a target, and that was hanging on the back wall. And we started doing shows and making demos and writing songs. Let me find. All right.
Oh, you still have that? Oh, that's great.
Everything. So from 1977, 7 years old, and we were just writing about things that little kids wrote about. Wait, there was a band before that. It was just me and my brother. And I should mention that besides music, my passion has always been astronomy and cosmology, and even more than that, really astrophysics. And not unlike Brian May, only he has a brain and he went on to do something with it. And me, I just kind of bang my head into a wall and say, duh. So
well, all of us compared to Brian May is that, but yeah, I mean, Dr. Brian May. Jeez.
Exactly. Sir Dr. Brian May. So the first band we had was called Smoke in Space, but it was like smoke in space. Ooh. And yeah, so even still, it's my love,
Space themed.
Yeah.
And I love how you answered.
And part of the reason is because it's everything. It's everything we are. It's everything that exists. We are cosmic dust. We are, crashed asteroids and just the right timing and the right heat and a whole lot of time to develop. And this right here, what's happening right now, every single thing, like, if I get started on this is going to go on for hours. We can start talking about how time doesn't exist for photons, and we're going to get to that. Okay,
because we're going to get to the photons part of the conversation.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Hello.
Can you say Bumblefoot?
Hi. He's going to get shot.
Where's Rolling? Can you say Bumblefoot? Say Bumblefoot.
Hi.
Did you hear him say it?
Mm-hmm.
Say Bumblefoot.
Bumblefoot.
Yeah, that's my name.
I've been trying to get
a trick. I'm going to show you a trick.
Harrison, look. Harrison, look at Bumblefoot.
See my fingers?
Where's his fingers?
Watch this.
Watch that. Oh no! He took his finger apart. No.
I can take my fingers off.
He does the thumb trick. I love that. Bumblefoot's doing finger tricks. I mean, you could do a guitar trick, but I guess he's not ready for that. Right?
I can take off my thumb too.
No, you want to sit here?
No, that's.
See, I don't know if he's going to give us hours, Ron, to talk. We're on his time. No. What do you want? Well, I love it. You know what? I need to get. You want to go down? Yeah. All right, let's go down.
All right, so.
You want more milk? All right, you want more? So he's going to give us a little bit more time while my brother fills up his. We got to get him to actually eat food instead of just having milk all the time. You have kids, right? I mean, it's been a while.
Not that I know of. No, I never had kids.
You never had kids? I don't know why. Okay. Well, maybe that's why you're a big kid.
Pretty much. I love other people's kids. Yes.
Well, if you do shows around here, I'll bring him. I don't know.
Yes, please do. Definitely. I'm going to give him his first guitar lesson.
I love that because that's what I wanted to. One of the things I was going to ask. I mean, are you going to tour off this record? I know you have some guest stars on there that may not make it, but how are you going to?
I'm doing a lot of just like one-off festival type stuff, and a lot of like rock and roll fantasy camps and teaching things. But as far as like going on a tour, I'm not planning to do that. But you never know what's going to happen. Plans change. But right now, I'm enjoying much more being a coach and helping other people get on the field. I'm working with a lot of bands. There's a band down in Baltimore called Shavrock. Their last name is Shavrik. And they are Orthodox Jews, and they kick ass. And their rabbi said, you should call your band Shavrock. And they write the greatest songs. Like all the lyrics are just about goodness and good storytelling. And the core of it is acoustic, almost like folk. But they break into almost like 2000s radio rock, like Creed and things like that. Like just melodic, good rock, and the guitar player is very like slashy, melodic, bluesy, great stuff. So we're finishing up their album, and that'll come out soon. So they would come here on weekends, like after Shabbat on Saturday night. They would come up, and we would work till 2 a.m. They would hit a hotel and sleep, and then we would start early in the morning, work all Sunday, all Monday, and get a couple of songs done. And it's fantastic. It's great, great stuff. So that's an
Right
example of like bands like the Doties and Shavrock and just helping people launch.
Is
And
there a list of bands that you've worked with or currently working with that we can also find in addition to your stuff? Like we can go on your website and be like, oh, Bumble's working on this. With this, like, can we get like a
yes,
Ron itinerary?
when I redid my website, I spent a couple of weeks making the discography section where there's a guest appearances section where any song I played a guest guitar solo on, I have all the information on it and a link so that you can listen to their song. A producing
Perfect.
section where people that I produced, there's links and you can check out all the stuff for comps and tributes and bands and solo stuff and everything. So there's all of that on there if you go to the discography section.
Okay,
Definitely
perfect.
check out Shavrock. They only have 2 things out so far. Actually 3. They just put out another. Yeah. And the Doties, they have 3 albums out. Definitely suggest checking them out. They sound like a mixture of Weezer, Radiohead, and Nirvana.
Okay.
And
Bands I
it
like.
goes to musical places you wouldn't expect. In a good way, like it works. Really interesting. And the singer has this wide range of people compare him to Justin from The Darkness. He gets that a lot because he has the range, but not like he overuses it and does like a bunch of yeah! kind of things. Like, no, it's just like his melodies are they span a wide musical range. So, okay, the first song I ever wrote was called Jupiter is Nice in the band Smoke in Space, before Viper 5 and before Target. So that one, because I had nothing to draw from yet, because really when you're writing songs, you're just compiling all the building blocks that you've amassed just from everything you've heard and everything you've experienced. You don't really make up things out of nowhere. There's the music that influenced you and inspired you, and that becomes part of how you make your music, and just the feelings you have and everything, and that all comes together. But at 6 years old, I didn't have much. So I just wrote about what was interesting to me, which Jupiter is nice. And I stole the melody and the music from a song that was on the radio at the time, Fox on the Run from Sweet. So it was just, Jupiter is nice, take my advice, I skate on the ice, Jupiter, and then it would just go on and describe Jupiter, the clouds of gases that are poisonous, and how colorful they are, and then go back to the chorus, and so...
I love that.
So then we had Target, the 3-piece, and let's see.
Your parents must have had a ball. Like
They did until we got noisier and noisier, and the drums got bigger, the amps got louder, and the school grades got lower, and all of that stuff. Yeah.
okay.
So let's see. And
That's so
in that
cool.
band, we just wrote about like speeding. So we had a song "Speeding on the Highway," "Stuntman." Let's see, "Stuntman." You can't make much out of it. These are very old. So we started figuring out that have the drums 10 feet back, our little acoustic guitars right up to the cassette recorder. That's how we would record the music. And then we would have a second cassette recorder. We would play our music back, record on this one, and sing along. And that's how we would overdub vocals. But we
Smart.
started figuring out multi-tracking. And when we would do shows, we would make up little tickets on Post-it notes and hand them out to the neighbors. And I would make cups of confetti that I would cut up, handmade confetti. So that for the last show, I would give them out to the audience and they would throw confetti in the air for the final song.
That's brilliant.
And over time, yeah, the stuff got better. Yeah, like the gear got better, the recordings got better. For me, the songs got worse. But yeah, so
No, I love that, man. I mean, I hope, I mean, I'm gonna have recordings of my son, interviewing people, but just to have that at that to still have
save
that
it
at
all.
that day and age is pretty cool and pretty special. So no, it's cool that you have it. I mean, were you ever inspired by a 6-year-old Ronnie to write a current song? Did you ever get hear something when you were like a kid? You're like, and all of a sudden it gets sparked an idea for something, more modern, or is it just you leave it and it's just more for fun and just to
Like, do
enjoyment?
I go back to my 6-year-old songs and say, can
I'm
I
just
make a new song out
curious.
of it?
You never know.
Um,
You never know where inspiration comes from, right? Maybe you're
Actually,
like,
I did that years ago when I was a teenager, but now it's like, you know what? Just keep moving forward.
okay.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I
if you're
feel
like,
like
well, Jupiter is nice. All right, let me.
it is. Uh, it's like songs are like a photograph,
Yeah,
and it's a photograph of a time and place that you were, and it's like you just want to keep it. I don't
sure.
want to. Maybe you could retake the photo, go back to the same place and do something like that. But I prefer to just come up with new photos.
Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's,
I'd rather you get an album inspired by your cat than versus
yes.
adolescent Ron. But I got a question. This is from Richard Fortis before we wrap
Ah,
up about the new album. He wants to know why Satch didn't play on the album. He was surprised, as they know they are close, that Satriani actually suggested you to Guns N' Roses, but he's got
mhm.
Vi, Guthrie, and Brian freaking May. That record is great. My favorite thing Ron has done. So that's again from Richard.
Nice. Thank you, Richard. Oh, well, I didn't want it to be. I didn't want to have too many guests. If I do another one, I would absolutely ask Satch. I would ask Steve Morse, Steve Lukather. There's like a million people. I could ask Zach. There's like so many people that I would love to do something with. At first, I didn't even want to have guests. I just, wanted to do it. But then as each song would come together, I would just hear a specific person, and I view it like they are the final puzzle piece to complete that picture. And I am not that piece. They are. Like I could try to channel them, but I wanted the songs to have the real thing. Like as I was making that song Once and Forever, and gets into that section, all I could hear is that Brian May sound and feel and soul, that spirit, that entity. And I could have imitated and said, well, this is what I think he might do. No, no. I wanted to have the real thing. For the song Monstruoso, I imagined after the breakdown part where it goes back into this solo that should sound like an alien, like it's not from this world. And yeah, I could make some weird sounds, but the best person that can capture that and make a guitar sound like it's really an alien speaking to you is Steve Vai. So I asked him, would you throw down a solo? And then Guthrie, that was the first song when I started writing with the intent of making an album. And I took an old riff that I had from when I was 19 that I just never did anything with. And it was just sitting, collecting dust in my brain for decades. Just this thing that just went. I was like, you know what, let me just dust that off and finally do something with that. So I took that, and it just, song starts with that. This is the very first thing I did when I said, okay, I'm making an album. And then I pictured drums and a bass, adding the next layers to it. And then a melody on top, which actually is kind of a Satriani type inspired. And a lot of times, the melody would just either be a spontaneous thing or something that I'm just not near a guitar and just thinking, and I just hum it yeah, so then from there, it's like, okay, there's the melody, it happened twice, then build up, and now let's make a variation of that melody. All right, let me get a better guitar sound for that. Okay, so we had, this will work. From there. Then you want to take the melody and just give it a slight variation so it doesn't start getting redundant. And if you change the foundation, the chords that the melody is part of, because a note can be part of a lot of different things. It could be the root of, it could be the fifth bar of, it could be a third. And the note gives you a different feeling. Same note, but different feeling because it's the combination of things that gives us feeling, any kind of emotional content. So I had as the root, and then suddenly it has just a different meaning to it, a different emotional depth. So went to that, and then I just pictured a breakdown where there could be like a long solo, and then I thought this would be a good place to trade off with someone. And now this is a riff I had from when I was 19. It was 1989.
All right, so you took something when you were 19, not when you were 6.
Yeah, not when I was 6, but
thought
19. And it was something that I just never used. It was just a riff I had that I never turned into a song for that long. And I just wanted to get it out of my head finally. And when I was 19, that's when things really started. I got a write-up in Guitar Player magazine, and from that, people were reaching out saying, hey, I would love to hear your demo. Actually, I shouldn't go like this because that didn't exist yet. It was all handwritten. It was handwritten letters. So I had my address, my home address in there, and people would send letters. So I got a letter from this kid from England, said, hi, I would love to hear your demo. My name is Guthrie. I'm a guitar player from the UK. And we became pen pals, and we would write each other handwritten letters and cassettes of our demos and handwritten transcriptions saying, here's what I did on this riff. It's kind of weird. I think you'll dig it. And we were these guitar pen pals as teenagers. So I've known Guthrie since then. So when he was doing his first album, Erotic Cakes, when he was making that album, he asked me if I would lay a guest solo on this song he had, called Rhode Island Shred. So I did this solo on the fretless in the middle of it, boom, 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 and then added a harmony on top of it. And that, so I was like, you know what? It all just kind of fits the timeline of where the song came from. It's when things began, it's when this album is beginning, it's from a riff from that time, and I should ask my friend from that time that reached out if he would play on it. So he did, and we did a little trade back and forth. So that's how that one happened.
Very cool.
The song Funeral March, that was something for piano that I came up with, and it was just, amidst the pandemic and relatives and friends of relatives and relatives of friends all disappearing, and just felt like it just felt so, the only way to describe it is just staring like blindly, like almost like into the void in front of you, and just walking aimlessly down this long path, just like, what the fuck did I just experience kind of thing. And it reminds me of a Twilight Zone episode where people were walking down this road, and there was this woman just waiting for her husband to come back from the Civil War. And all these soldiers just kept walking down this road, and they're all just almost like zombies. It's just, and some would stop and talk, and I don't want to give it away, but it reminded me of that. And so I started making the song. I made it for guitar to start with, and then just kept going around with different layers of instrumentation, and just got the sound of marching on gravel, put that in there, and Kyle did like a marching snare in there, and I pictured almost like a Louisiana funeral type thing with this bell and this timpani, boom, 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 and just picturing all of that. Again, like I'm picturing something and I soundtrack it. And I realized it needed just like a crying violin. So I went to my favorite band, Thank You Scientist, and I asked Ben, the violinist, if he would lay something down, and he did, and it was perfect. It was beautiful. Yeah. So that's kind of how everything would happen as far as guests on there.
Well, that's cool. And you certainly, you're mentioning just a few, like, is it going to be the same amount of time before we see Bumblefoot Returns again, or you're not even thinking about that yet? You're just enjoying
Yeah, I'm
this ride?
still like knee deep in this. I still have to make a hot sauce based on the song Moonshine Hootenanny. That's the song. I was watching this documentary on all these old blues dudes from like 100 years ago, and I remember Lonnie Johnson was just playing this kind of rhythm. I was like, I like that, yeah. And I just grabbed my guitar and just busted out this thing. And then I thought of the movie Raising Arizona. Remember the soundtrack? And I pictured just a voice doing some kind of thing like that, but did it with guitar. So it was just like. And I just pictured a voice doing that in the background, and then just built a song from there. Everything stops, and there's some kind of guitar riff, and then back to the main thing, and then some other guitar riff, and then change the chord, and then just build it into a main theme. And it just goes from there, and just the song starts to build itself, snowball.
Is that something you want to do? Perhaps like score a movie or a cartoon or a show or video games? I mean, you obviously have the vision. Yeah, like is that something you want to?
Tons of that. That's like
keep doing that.
Throughout the 90s and 2000s is when I did it the most. But yeah, I did the soundtrack to one of the first video games that had 16-bit actual sound on it, like recorded audio, CD audio. It was a Sega game, this weird game called Wild Woody.
Okay.
A weird game. And did the whole soundtrack, 28 songs, all the levels and everything. And I did for pretty much every MTV show that you can imagine, like back around the early 2000s.
Okay, I know
you could
that.
think of. Every single one had my music on it. The Osbournes, Hogan Knows Best, Clone High, Pimp My Ride, like all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did background music for those. And then from there, started doing more stuff. So my music has been on So You Think You Can Dance. It has been on Oprah Winfrey, Tom Brokaw, WWE Raw, NHL, the 2008 to 9 promos for that season. Was my music. There was a show on Spike TV called MXC.
Yeah. Most Extreme Challenge, right?
Yeah. The theme song is mine. I did the theme song.
Why did I not know that? Okay.
Show, you mentioned Eddie Trunk before. His on VH1.
That metal show?
Yeah. Theme song, it's mine.
That I knew. That I remember.
So,
okay.
And then there's a lot of different, volleyball, this and that, like different video games that I've had music on, some like little indie horror movies. Always. And it doesn't stop. Every time I'm getting like a list of, like you get your royalties and a breakdown of stuff, and or someone just sends me a video of something like a few months ago, like something on NASCAR was using my music. Before that, it was McDonald's commercial in Finland was using some of my music. And of all things, like a crazy guitar solo from one of my solo albums they were using on a McDonald's commercial in Finland. Yeah, so that is a big part of what I do. So I do all of that stuff. So here's for everyone that doesn't know beyond playing in a certain band and framed on your wall there. Okay, so teaching. Started teaching at 13 years old. At that point, I knew all the academics and music theory and everything, and jazz and classical. So I started teaching. That went on to become, there was a thing called the Sam Ash Music Institute. So I was a teacher there, and then I started teaching. I actually developed the whole entire music program for a private school in Central Jersey. They didn't have a music program. So put together a whole music program for them. And then after that, I started teaching at SUNY Purchase College as an adjunct professor, teaching music and music production. And with the studio stuff, and I always had my own studio and would do lots of things, producing bands, and from that also making music for the TV shows and all of that. So then in 2013, I started working with the State Department, where I go to all these different countries and do these music programs with local musicians. So we do all kinds of things, like special things for Earth Day in the Philippines, class for the grandkids of the royal family in Brunei, like all kinds of wacky stuff. Yeah, just playing all over the world, courtesy of the different embassies and consulates, and just doing these things to strengthen ties with people that maybe don't know much about America other than politics. And what they would always say to me is, they said this to me. They said, politics divides people. Music brings people together. That's why we're bringing you out here. And sure enough, did lots of wonderful things with that. What else? The hot sauce. Yeah, I've always been into spicy food, so I started a hot sauce company since 2013. And for this album, I have to make a hot sauce to go along with it. With that song I was just playing, Moonshine Hootenanny. So I got to make a Louisiana style with boiled down whiskey or moonshine or something in it. So I got to do that as well. I got a lot of plans, things based around this album that still are yet to be done. It's not just putting the music out and moving on. I want it to be a whole experience with a lot involved, as an album release should be. It should feel like an event with a lot to it. Make it something special, the way it was back in the day,
You truly are a Renaissance man, Ron. You really so much. And it seems like it's all DIY, do it yourself. It's not like you have a Bumblefoot. Not like you have like a bunch of employees underneath you, right? You might have some help in there and there. Is there anyone
I am getting help.
Okay.
For example, Deco Records. I've done a lot of like one-off guest guitar solos for artists that have released on Deco Records. The very first big concert I saw was Kiss at Madison Square Garden in 1979, the Dynasty Tour. The band that opened for them was this band called New England, and they were phenomenal. And I immediately went out and got their album and just loved this band so much. Eventually became friends with Hirsch Gardner, the drummer, vocals, songwriter, wonderful guy. So I do on his solo albums, I'll do guest solos and things. So he just put out his album Third Time's a Charm on Deco Records. So I was talking to them, and they're like, so what have you been up to? I told them about the album. They're like, you want some help for retail? I was like, sure. And now through Deco Records, it's available in stores and through them on Amazon. So in record stores, and they're teamed up with Cargo Records in the UK. So now in the UK and exported to Europe, my album is also in stores out there. And they are such a great, they're just great dudes. They just happen to live like 40 minutes away from me. So I'll go out there and we'll have cappuccinos and hang out and just listen to music and just talk business. And now also they offer to me that bands I produce can get distribution through them. Sort of like I'm like a record label under their umbrella.
Okay.
So all the bands that I'm working with, now they have, if they want it, retail distribution through Deco. They're a great label, just really good dudes. They just, when you get to our age in the 50s, when this thing turns white, you're not trying to amass things and build an empire and all that. If anything, you want to get rid of shit. And it's more about just what good can I do before I'm out, you know?
Right. I'm starting to
It
feel
becomes
that.
more about that. It's like, okay, my life has become what it has become. It's not over. But that fight to feel like you need to conquer and all that bullshit, no, you feel like, you know what? I know who I am. I don't have to prove anything. I am at peace with the universe for the most part. I mean, traffic still sucks, but now it's more about with who I've become, what do I have to offer? What can I do? So that's why I
doing a
love
lot.
teaching and producing and all of that. Yeah, because that is my way to, I guess, pay it forward or to just be of use to mankind in the best way I can. Doing for myself feels like it doesn't serve much of a purpose at this point. It's not about me, and I don't think it ever was. That's the thing. So really, it's just about, okay, think of it this way. What makes a great melody on guitar? By itself, it doesn't mean shit. It has to connect to the music. And if you look at the skeleton, the DNA of what makes the music, let's say the chords are, if you take every time the chord changes, that's a moment that can have impact to the listener. Now, if you do a phrase that leads up to something that connects to each of those moments, that makes a pattern that you know is going to go bum, 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 bum. The brain knows it's coming, and when it hits, it's like, ah. So when it does that with the music, when you're using notes that are part of the music, and you're amplifying what the music is doing, that is what makes a great melody. That's what makes good icing, the good cherry on top. It is about serving the music. So what you want to be is the human version of that. It's like, for me to be a worthwhile human being that I could feel good about being, is really, it's about serving the foundation, serving the music, being part of it in a good way. And that's what we want to do. So
You're doing it.
that's at this point what I try to do. Yeah.
You're doing it, and it's so cool because it's, again, you're not just serving yourself, and selfishly as fans, we're happy you are because now we have this great album, and just serving all these other bands and showcasing these bands that perhaps we wouldn't get to hear of if it wasn't without you. Yeah, you're really giving back, and I think just to give your time to teaching, to doing creative things like games and coffee. It's you have a lot left to give, Ron, but it's definitely a life well lived so far.
And that's what you want. That's what you want in life. You want struggles so that you can get stronger from them and find a way through those storms. You want the good times as well. You want a life well lived. You want a real good ride that you are on in the
Yeah.
end.
That's what someone told me when I was younger once, because I still am a bit of a, as I'm sure you know, I'm a Jew from Brooklyn. I'm very neurotic and just like nervous about things. This is like early on my radio days, and it was like for another job that I had to support myself. My boss is like, just enjoy the ride, kid. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And I really understand that now. I tell that to my younger brothers. I'm gonna tell that to my son. Just you got to. It's a ride and ups and downs, and yeah, just to
You
have
got to
a
give up control.
yeah,
Don't try
yeah.
and control that which you can't. You know, I always equate it to water. You know, it's like just you're water in the river. You know, don't try and go the opposite direction. Don't try, just flow with it and see where it takes you and navigate around the rocks and the obstacles. And the odds are, wherever it takes you, you'll figure it out. You'll be okay, and you just make it work. Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect this, this river to have me do over 500 episodes of this Guns N' Roses themed podcast. I didn't expect that, being in the industry for over 20 plus years and getting to talk to you, all these years later. I mean, this is special. I really appreciate your time today. Kind of like almost a mini concert at times with you playing. I was wondering because I've seen other interviews where you've done that, and I'm like, oh, like the fanboy in me. I'm like, I hope he plays guitar for me. And you did. And you did, so I appreciate it. You don't have to share the story if you don't want. It's just because it was brought up by Richard. Can you maybe talk about how Satch suggested you to GNR? Like that's
Oh,
what
he sent me an email.
just
I
an
had
email?
just jammed with him. He brought me on stage to as a guest at PNC, the arena out here in Jersey, and we jammed. And then he just sent me an email and said they were looking for someone. So just so you know, I recommended you. So if they reach out, it's not fake or anything. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, it's just so funny how all it takes is sometimes an email. But again,
Yeah, it's all that simple. Life is very much about personal stuff. It's just about people connecting with each other. That's it. That's everything.
and I still have that connection very vivid in my memory. I wish I had, because you think I'm long-winded now. I really had no, I do. I had no idea how to conduct an interview back then when we first spoke in 2007. So I still remember, I'm like, how long does an interview need to be? Now, I mean, thank you for going overtime. I did not expect to talk to you for this long. Good. Yeah, I'm appreciative
I
of it.
could go for hours more. There's so much that we can talk about.
Well, thank you. I
Like,
want to, because I'm very lucky that he's been a good boy so far. I don't want
yes,
him.
wonderful.
He's playing with his toys. It's not always the case because he's been very. It's so funny. I had my brother pour him milk. He comes. I don't know if you saw in the corner. He comes over to give it to me just to give to him because he had to get it from me. So I know I'm jinxing it, but yet the fact that he hasn't bothered me really in an hour and a half is incredible. I mean, he'll have more words. The fact he said Bumblefoot, that's the two things I wanted from this interview was either for you to play guitar and for him to say Bumblefoot, and both of those things happen. So no, very very cool, and yeah, just to have this. Look, that's what I always I said to you at the beginning. I'm like, we can just talk about being from Brooklyn, being the same sense of
Yeah.
humor and Jew.
L&B's Pizza.
Where I know you said you moved to Staten Island, but where in Brooklyn did you were you born? Right, you were
So it
born in Brooklyn.
was right below Prospect Park. It was like Canton Avenue and Flatbush,
Okay.
right over there. And the neighborhood was getting pretty rough. We needed to get out of there.
Yeah, that's why my parents left. We were in Mill Basin, but my dad was from East Flatbush and my mom's from Mill Basin. We moved to Long Island when I was like 1.5. But I like saying I'm a Brooklyn Jew rather than a Long Island Jew. I feel like there's more toughness, you
Well,
know?
Brooklyn just sounds, there's more cred. It's,
Yeah.
yeah. So then I went to Staten Island, bounced around there. Then I had a studio back in Brooklyn. Yeah, and then eventually Central Jersey. So right now I'm in the north end of Princeton. I got this place, God, maybe almost 25 years ago, just a second house that I gutted and turned into a place to make noise. And thankfully I got really cool neighbors. Yeah, the guy next door, Eric, he's great. Comes over with his guitar once in a while, and yeah.
I should Bumblefoot be in your neighbor. I love that. Yeah, well, I'm gonna take your advice. Right now, we have to switch toys with him so he doesn't get sick of them. We put the drums away because he kept losing the chopsticks, the drumsticks, or like putting them in his mouth. So I gotta train him, like you said, guitarist should be a drummer first, and
Yeah,
next
but the
time.
guitar, don't give him a pick.
Oh, he's not ready for
Yeah.
he's not ready
You,
for
I mean,
that.
I gotta tell you, yeah.
No, right now he does things for fun. Thankfully, he's good with that without like putting things in his mouth. But he'll put like it's something he can't swallow. I have blocks. I have blocks and toy cubes on my desk. He'll put this in his mouth and just
Yeah,
wait
that
for
one
me.
looks tasty, the pink one. It looks like it would taste good.
It does. It's meant for like a real ice cube, but he's just like cube, pink. And he just looks at me within his mouth, and he waits for me to say, "Take it out, take it out." So he's at that phase where he's just like he knows he's doing something wrong, and he just waits for me to say something. So yeah, it's a fun time. Oh, and his nickname, by the way, his on your nickname, you'll appreciate Baby Brownstone.
That's cute.
Real name Harrison Rex, named after the Beatles. So I couldn't name him Axel or Slash. I wasn't going to do that or anything. So just after George Harrison, because my wife and I are big Beatles fans, so we figured do that. And
That's great.
so Bubble,
So what are you doing next?
what am I doing next?
What's your next interview? Can you say?
I don't have, you know what? I could say he's coming up in the summer. Martin Popoff. He wrote this book, Guns N' Roses
Ah,
40. So yeah, I'm gonna get him and him soon. I don't think I have anyone yet because I was waiting on you because next week actually I'll say it because I'm gonna put it out the week that I'll be away in Chicago. So I'm going to Chicago as my wife's dad passed away. So
awesome.
yeah, it's been a rough year with their cats and then like my father-in-law. So it's fitting in these interviews to kind of in between then to kind of that's been my like guitar makes you happy. This makes me happy. Being with my son, getting to do that now, makes me happy. So, I don't know if I'm going to do an interview on the road. I won't have like my microphone or anything, but I'll keep trying to. I never thought. I mean, I I could say, oh, I got Bumblefoot. That's it. I finally got him. I'm done. But now I want to talk to you again. I want to see who else is out there with this 6 degrees of. That's what I call it, 6 degrees of GNR bacon. As you could tell, it's not like I'm talking Guns N' Roses on here all the time. Everyone and their mother is a podcast or a rock podcast. Got to make mine a little different with that connection. So obviously you have that connection, but we don't need to talk about about it so
Spoken
much.
said.
It's just because it's funny because again it's not just you, it's other guests. I've had people from Iron Maiden on. I talked about it. I had Bruce Dickinson, and then after, hey, can you take that part about Guns N' Roses out? That's gonna end up being clickbait. Okay, sure, sure. So I am always fighting the battles to be the good interviewer and just have fun with my guests. And I hope you had fun today because you're a busy dude. And the fact that you've taken an hour and a half to be with me today is
No, happy to. We have a lot to
amazing.
catch up on.
I know. I was nervous and I was excited. I always admit when I'm nervous. I'm like, I'm kind of nervous because like it's been a bit, but I know he's cool. Like so it took a minute to get through my I'm like Chris Farley, Remember when? Stupid, stupid. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? That's me. I'm Chris Farley.
So in a week, or is it 2 weeks? No, like a week and a
Yeah,
half.
so
I'm going to the Canary Islands. Gonna play. There's this festival, Starmus, and Brian May is. I feel like I keep bringing up his name. Like I feel like a fucking name dropper, but it's relevant. And he's part of everything. So
hey, get him to
yeah,
be
he's.
you can be my co-host. Get him to be on my podcast. You want to be a producer? You want to add that to your resume, radio podcast
I'm
producer?
trying to do less things.
You want to babysit
So
Harrison? What
that'll do.
he wants me to read him the book?
Read the book, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna read the Guns N' Roses book.
So
But finish, tell me
this.
what you're gonna do.
So this festival, Starmus, and I started doing it a couple of years ago, and Brian May is the co-founder of it. It is a combination of astrophysics and music. So during the day, you have people like Kip Thorne and all these astrophysicists, theoretical physicists, David Eicher, who's been running Astronomy Magazine for 40 years, and all these incredible minds giving lectures. And then the musicians, we put on shows and concerts and everything. And then afterwards, we just hang out at the rooftop talking about all kinds of wild stuff.
That's cool.
And that kind of feels like I've completed the circle of everything. Yes. So, like when I think about when I was 6 years old and I loved like space and music, and now I am doing festivals that combine space and music. And I
So cool.
feel like the only way is like if I die tomorrow, I feel like I finished what I needed to do for myself. Like it's complete. Like
Well,
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
It's,
You're not going tomorrow, but that's so cool.
well,
And
you never know. And then again, it's all one big imprinted thing, time, that we are incapable of grasping, and we see it in a linear way. But then again, everything that is everything at once is linear in every way at once as well. Now we're getting into theoretical physics, but
as
yes,
we do here.
yes. So if I die tomorrow, it's today still exists, and that never disappears. And it's okay because I feel like I completed what I wanted to do. Nothing feels unfinished. Getting to play this festival, getting to have dinner with the greatest minds in the world, and to chat about things, about developments in fission, seeing the DART program. They're showing me on their phone like the final frames that the rocket saw before it impacted with the asteroid to divert it. And like the final, just like 1/3 of a frame, and then it didn't go all the way because it blew up. Things like that, like that is so fucking exciting to me.
That really is
And
cool. I wish I had the mental capacity because I find that stuff interesting. I love listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk and just all that the space because you're right. We really don't know. And I mean, we only know this Bumblefoot exists. We don't know about other
well,
timelines.
here's the thing, like there's some new ideas due to some new developments. There's a lot of people tossing around the idea that this whole observable universe may be inside a black hole. So the question is, what is outside of that black hole? I mean, easily you could just say unobservable universe filled with more black holes that have universe inside. And maybe when things pass the event horizon and they, just strip down and you have a complete gravity that just pulls things into this, maybe it still exists in its current form like this. The same way, if you take a photon that goes the speed of light, where time slows down to nothing, it experiences all time at once. There is no faster or slower, it all just is. So if that's the case, if time can be that way, can space be that way? Can space all exist in one tiny little dot and all things at once? So, is the universe inside a black hole, which is inside that same universe, and it's all like a tesseract inside itself? This is what we need to discuss in a week and a half. We're going to be talking about this. Because if time can exist all at once when you slow down speed, can space exist all at once when you remove all
Time?
inhibition to gravity? Gravity, because gravity bends space and time. Like they're intertwined, but it's almost like that's what spaghettification is like gravity pulling so hard that it's pulling the fabric. But it's also like, this will be another hour, so I should stop here. But here's the thing, like I think about,
Just one suggestion though. Are you going to be the first person to send a guitar solo into a black hole? You got to find a way to do it. Put it on like a some sort of mini disc and just send it out into outer space. And
I
that's
was
the music
just,
of the universe. Maybe it's a way to
okay,
communicate.
just played there's a whole space expo at the Kennedy Center in DC, and just played it last week. And afterwards, talking with everyone and met some NASA astronauts, and we were talking, and I asked them, like, has anyone played guitar in orbit yet? And he did.
Oh,
He
wow.
played a horn instrument and a guitar. Because the thing we also have to remember is that waves move, at least when we hear sound, it all gets back to the observer in context to everything. And sound waves, like think of the Doppler effect. It's the speed of the wave, it's a higher note until it passes you because you are actually speeding up the sound waves. You're moving toward them as they're hitting you. So in that case, it's like they're faster. And when you go away from them, it's like they're slowing down because it takes longer to reach you. And that's why when a car passes you, you're like, as it's going towards you and away from you. So it all depends. I have to stop. I have to stop talking about this because we are going to go on for hours about things that are going to make people turn off your podcast. So let me just shut up, and we'll get back to this another time.
Harrison, can you say theoretical physics? He said Chicky, so no.
That's close enough.
He wants to watch Chicky, which is just this little animated chicken who gets hurt all the time. Yeah, so no, I'm fascinated by this. So yeah, we can, Ron, just thank you so much for your time. The fact that we can talk about so many different things in addition to
We're just getting started, but we got to stop because
I know.
Yes.
I know.
Okay.
I know. He started to freak out.
It's Chicky time. Chicky time.
Chicky time. I got to go be a parent, I guess. So
Well, great chatting.
yeah, it was. And again, I hope we get to do this. Bumblefoot Returns is the album. I suggest buying it because the artwork is phenomenal. So if you're listening to this on just the audio podcast, look at Simon. Look into Simon's eyes, Simon the cat, and just have him put him up somewhere in your home. I got to go look at your merch. I want to go play that video game, the Simon in Space. I can't wait,
Yeah, it's
man.
fun. Yeah.
So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will we see the next one? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.